I'm Marky Bilson. This is Tri-City Sports Now. You're going to hear more about Eli and expecting them to take a quarterback. Still, I mean, Eli is both the most criticized and now most defended player in the NFL. Here's Dan Orlovsky of ESPN. Here's the final take from that deal.
I don't really think that Eli's sitting here pondering what comes next or what not. They'll cross that bridge. The great ones, they're so focused to be in the moment and relying on the process, which is a catchphrase nowadays or a cliche, but relying on where my feet are. My feet are here. I'm the starting quarterback of the Giants. I'm going to do everything I can to do that as good as I can, like he said. But Eli still can play in the NFL.
That's an opinion. I'm not sure I'm totally against that opinion. Look, I got to tell you something. Marky Bilson here, Tri-City Sports Now, 1420 WEMB Sports Radio. You know, even more than those. And the reason why is very simple. He did it twice in the Super Bowl. He did it once when everybody said he was going to be a bust. Remember Peyton going crazy in his luxury box for his little brother? Remember that? It was a great moment right there. But you had Eli defeating the undefeated Patriots, for crying. Pats right now, they'd have more Super Bowls as a franchise. They would officially be the New York Yankees of the NFL if it weren't for Eli Manning. Because the Patriots dynasty would have Packers unquestionably. Now, over a period of time, it already has. But, you know, all time, the Steelers and Pats still have 6 Super Bowls apiece, you know, that sort of thing. You know, so, you know, you can always say the Steelers rival, it was more, dynasty was more concentrated. Certainly the Packers in the 60s, well, you know, you can look at that, you know, this was more of an extension over time, staying good than a era of, if one can call, say, 4 years an era, of pristine dominance. Although the Pats have made the Super Bowl the last 3 level. Something else to discuss here, speaking of the Cowboys, and I don't quite, like I said, I understand why the Seahawks want to keep Russell Wilson in the fold. I also understand why they didn't want him to test free agent waters, because you can really have a disgruntled quarterback then. I just, on principle, don't think that Wilson should be the highest paid player in the league. I don't think he's that. We're saying this is going to be the last year that Sean Payton coaches the Saints. That he'll go back to the Dallas Cowboys and replace Jason Garrett after this season. Because then Garrett, you know, evidently he won't win a Super Bowl, and Jerry Jones will get sick of trying to defend him. And wouldn't you rather be with the Dallas Cowboys than the Saints? Even though the Dallas Cowboys haven't done a whole heck of a lot since that dynasty 3 out of 4 years. I, again, look at Peyton, and of course he used to be on the staff as assistant coach of the Cowboys, but, you know, he's been with the Saints 10 years. He's in his 13th year, and he says, I don't know how to answer it. I feel it's every other year. It's the odd number of years. 2019 it comes up, then we're in 2021. I've got fleur-de-lis tattoos that can't be erased. Now that's loyalty to the employer, isn't it? Or at least to Louisiana, I guess. Of course, the Cowboys fans, I still think that it's 1976. So, I mean, if you really want to get to it, but the idea is what will happen once Drew Brees is 40 years old, after he goes, would Peyton want Sean Payton? You know what I think? I think it's the guy who didn't run the ball and then blamed the NFC title game. When I really think it's Payton for his stupid strategy by not running on that series of downs in which the pass interference was not called. If he runs the ball, there goes 30 seconds. That's time that the Rams probably needed to be able to kick that tying field goal. Just a thought. Yesterday was a huge day in Major League Baseball. There were, of course, it was Jackie Robinson Day, in which every player wears number. I'm of the opinion that there has got to be a better way than to sacrifice player identification. No one can wear 42 any other day, but on April 15th, everybody wears 42. It's to honor Jackie Robinson, who broke the color barrier in baseball in 1947 on April the 15th. Actually, he was the first African-American man to play Major League Baseball in 64 years. There had been some players, Moses Fleetwood Walker had been the last previous one, who had played Major League Baseball up until 1883. Of course, the game was a whole lot different back then. I mean, in 1883, the players wore a different uniform, not their team. And just to start out, you wore gloves on both hands. They were fingerless. All for a high and a low pitch. One side of the bat could be flat. You get the idea here, what I'm talking about here, all right? Nevertheless, it was, as I said, Jackie Robinson Day, and it was won in great dramatic fashion.
Dodgers hoping for a walk-off from Peterson. With 6 home runs on the year, and a fly ball to right. It's on its way, and it is a walk-off home run for Jock Peterson. And the Dodgers.
Boy, speak of the devil, Charlie Steiner, huh? That's who was on the call, right? Jock Peterson, 2-run homer against the Reds, bottom of the 9th inning down Dodger Stadium, if you missed it because it was too late last night. They actually had Vin Scully as the escort to I guess it was the Robinson family who came out and was honored by the Dodgers and such. I've always felt that it would be much more appropriate for the Mets to honor him, because that's really the extension of the Brooklyn Dodgers. If you really want to get to it, I mean, that's where the fan base was. Those are the people that supported him. That and especially, I mean, think about this: would another community, would Cincinnati, if Cincinnati broke the color barrier? I mean, Bobby Greer broke the color barrier in the Sugar Bowl. They banned blacks for another 8-9 years. So do the Dodgers, I've always felt, he was a Brooklyn ball player. He actually was the general manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers, was Jackie Robinson. Yeah. Continental Football League. Look it up. There's actually been a pro basketball team, I think it was in the CBA, and a pro football team, Continental. I mean, there was an old Brooklyn Dodgers in the NFL. Jock Sutherland coached them. Ace Parker played for him. That's going back a ways. But then you have a Dodgers Continental Football League team. That was the 60s, only it was a lot more successful. Anyway, the other thing about that Dodgers-Reds game is that it was a successful day for Clayton Kershaw, who went 7 strong innings, allowed 2 runs, and didn't allow a runner to get to second base in his last 5 innings. There you go. However, he was Kershaw's coming back from, what was it? He had he had some soreness in his elbow. Was that it, basically? That he was. Anyway, he was coming back from injury. Now that I see it, I've not written down what the injury. He had a tender throwing arm. What it was exactly. Clayton Kershaw is back, and that's a big thing for the Dodgers, obviously moving forward. But as I said, that was not the story of the day in Major League Baseball. Now, the story of the day happened to be with arguably the, I would say, most underrated player, maybe. And it's because he plays for the Milwaukee Brewers. And the Milwaukee Brewers may be the most nondescript franchise in all of Major League Baseball. That's debatable, but think about it here for a second. Regardless, Christian Yelich made...
Here it is. Yelich sends it to right and deep. Way back. Get up. Get up.
Christian Yelich just off of Mike Myers, and no doubt about that, baby. The second time tonight that he's gone yard. He has driven in 6 runs tonight.
3 home run game for Christian Yelich. Of course, the record is 4, but still 3 home runs in a game is worthy of note. That made it 9-6. Milwaukee went on to beat St. Louis as those two teams figured to Triple Crown this year. So who knows? This might actually be the game that decides it. You never know. Okay, 10-7 is the final. The Brewers beat the Cardinals. Do they still hate the in Milwaukee? Do they hate the Cardinals because of the 82 series? Is that the case? Is that, yeah, think about that. Do they still hate the Braves? Think about that. Some of the older people probably do. When does baseball get to be like a Dirty Harry movie? Well, what happened in Toronto last night? Here's the situation. The Toronto Blue Jays were up 5-3. And a player was on first base. And he was picked off. That's not any. Except the reason why he was picked off was because he left first base to go to second, thinking that a third ball was in fact the fourth. Now, the player in question, his name, let me get the, I write this out and then they don't give me, it says Perez picks off Hernandez. So let's see here. Hernandez picked off by the, for the Blue Jays. And yeah, you love this when you print it out here and you've got this, Hernan, world's slowest computer here. I've got 40 seconds here. Hernandez. Let's get you this, and the world's slowest computer will not help me out. But here's how baseball is like Dirty Harry. Okay? Was that 4 balls or only 3? Well, in all this excitement, it's kind of difficult for Teoscar Hernandez to keep track of it himself. But seeing as how that pitcher can still pick you off with a 108-stitch sphere, you might want to ask yourself before you go down to second base, are you feeling lucky? Or could you just look at the scoreboard?
Sports Radio Irwin, Real Sports Talk.